Hey everybody, Cheryl here, and today I wanted to talk to you about prices in the salon. And I want to talk about how the landscape of our industry has changed and what we can do to keep our prices in conjunction with making a good living behind the chair and keeping the clientele. So, one of the things I want you to think about is when you go to a mechanic and you tell him you want your car serviced, and your idea of service is to have your tires aired up and the oil changed. He takes your car back, comes back an hour later, and he has rotated the tires, aligned the front end, changed the oil, added new windshield washer fluid, so on and so forth. You're expecting a $50 bill and he hands you one for $275. And it is because you each had an idea of the concept and the word service. Here's what happens in the salon, and here's how the landscape of our industry has changed. 15 years ago, pretty much every salon did highlights, foils, root touches, regrowth touches, we don't use that word root, touching up the regrowth, refreshing the ends. So it was easy to create a service menu that was fairly understandable, and we didn't get so off track in our conversations with our clients concerning their hair. Now, what's happened in today's world is now there's so much more. We get to be so much more detailed. Sometimes we want to take very dark hair to silver, trying to explain to the client that process, how many chemicals it takes, so on and so on and so forth. And we have bonding agents that we add to our color formulas. So there's a lot of different things that were never part of a service menu. And figuring out how to create that can be somewhat of a difficult task. So for salons who have service menu, sit down with it. Sit down as a group, look at it and say, here's what the client sees, what do they think? And how can we adjust that? Because here's the reality of it. Every single client is as individual as their DNA. And while 3 people might all have shoulder length, medium brown hair and want a quote unquote balayage or ombre or whatever buzzword they come in with in conjunction with whatever visual they have in mind, we have a journey from where they are to where they want to be. Those 3 people can have completely different outcomes based on what they desire. And while we might be able to finish one in 3 hours, another one of them might take 6.5 hours. And they think that if they both got balayage or they both got an ombre, why isn't it the same price? Same reason it's not the same price when a mechanic services your car. Because the more we do, the more products we use, the more detailed we are, the more it's going to cost. And we have to set our prices accordingly. We have to figure out how much the products cost when we do these services, how much time we're allotting, so on and so forth. Are they getting an experience? The atmosphere, like when my clients sit down in my chair, they get an experience. They have fun. But they also get up looking fabulous. So it is definitely relevant to who you are, not necessarily where you live. I think sometimes we throw that around, well, I live in a small town. And, like, I don't mean to sound like a snarky witch, but reality is, and the amount of work it takes to do is the amount of work it takes to do. And I live in a small town, and people come from a lot of different places to get their hair done. And it is very, very important that you make a living, that you're able to pay for the products, that you're able to pay for your overhead. So your prices should be based on a lot of things. There is a lady I follow, her name is Nina, and she's the 1N agency. She has a lot of helpful tips for that. There's a lot of helpful tips for you to figure out the formula for your salon and what works best. What if you work in a salon suite? You know what your overhead is. If you don't, you should. Sit down, figure it out. Figure out how much you want to make per hour, how much your products cost, And then you figure it out on an individual basis and don't allow other people to tell you how much you should be charging. You can do that. You can absolutely figure out how much a service can cost. It's not easy per se. I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's not that hard if you just sit down and figure and think about it. Another thing relevant to this is when the client says, well, that's out of my price range, and say, I so understand. I would say Google. Maybe we can find one in you can find one in your, I'm not going to help her, but you can find one in your price range, because reality is, this is what I have, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what my prices are. I'm not going to be mean to her. I'm not going to be snarky, and I'm not going to get on social media and blast out all this other stuff. She's got a budget, I got a budget. If they don't match, we don't play. It's pretty simple, okay? Another thing would be family and friends and discounting. Truly a concept I don't understand. My own mother would not let me do her hair for free. She said time in my chair was taken away from me if I didn't pay her, because somebody else would have gladly sat there. My sister and brother-in-law, my brother-in-law's a pharmacist. I don't get free drugs, and he doesn't get free hair, and neither does anybody else. It's a concept I don't understand. If you choose to do it, that's fine. I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. And I'm not going to feel bad about taking care of my business. I hope these tips help to give you the strength to think about it, charge what you're worth, and be worth what you charge. I hope everybody has a good day. I hope this helps to encourage you to step it up, and look for me on YouTube at Cheryl C. Graves, Segraves, and on Instagram at Color1Up. That's the number 1. And there's a train going by. How nice is that? I hope everybody has a great day.